Elections do not happen in a void. Often, a certain group's vote indicates that group's history with the political party in question. People tend to be loyal to their political group, so often, a large plurality can hint at a past event, rather than a current one. This is most evident with voting results from people of different races, especially with the black vote. Currently, about 80% of black people self-identify as Democrat. These numbers have been fairly consistent since the 1964 election, when Barry Goldwater ran on states' rights, which was seen as a very anti-black platform. His opponent, Lyndon Baines Johnson, signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which really solidified the African American transition from Republican to Democrat. Until this point, African Americans primarily voted Republican, for pretty obvious reasons. Just to emphasize how drastic this change was, in the 7 elections after the Goldwater-Johnson election, no Republican has gained more than 15% of the black vote. Other POC have smaller majorities when it comes to Democrat versus Republican, but they still tend to vote Democratic, especially previously or currently oppressed groups. You'll see this theme a lot in other videos, with currently or previously oppressed groups tending to gravitate towards the Democratic Party. For example, Asian Americans vote Democrat in ratios of 3-1, despite having the higher economic status generally associated with the Republican Party. With a lot of races, it's very similar, where the issue of civil rights can motivate them more than their stance on other issues, such as economic issues, healthcare, foreign policy. Civil rights come first. You can see this in how Asian Americans vote, because generally speaking, they do not tend to have a very high level of political participation. But those who are the victims of hate crimes, or who consider themselves to be a part of an oppressed group, tend to make it to the polls in higher numbers. Hispanic people vote Democrat by the same general margin as Asian Americans, but the vote also breaks down by region, at least partially because of oppression and civil rights, because Cuban Americans, who tend to be treated better than Mexican Americans, vote Republican by a much higher margin than Mexican Americans do. So why do so many people of color vote Democrat? It really does come down to civil rights. In the last century, the Democratic Party has become sort of a champion for civil rights, while the Republican Party has become synonymous with conservatism at best and white supremacy movements at worst. With many racial minority groups, it is the history of the political party in relation to the rights of people that influences their vote.